For a really long time, schools in our country have been built around two core design principles. One is pacing guides with content that's divided up and separated into different classes, and another is grouping students by grade and age. And not only do these two ideas not really reflect how the world works, but this system has produced inequitable outcomes as a matter of design. Over the past year, our cohort has been talking about practices that are promising, that are associated with maker-centered learning. And today I want to suggest that while these practices, which empower learners, are good starting points, our work may actually be more radical and more profound. We need to redesign schools to produce the conditions where students can develop agency. And I think there's an opportunity here. While our system is complicated and interconnected, redesigning schools could create proof points needed to push school redesign out to the system level. So why redesign school? I guess I want to suggest tonight that many of our schools aren't actually designed for the learners in them. I'll go to healthcare as an analogy. Surgeons are allowed to operate for 24 hours straight, and the reason is that this gives them a convenient weekend. And the healthcare industry then, to me, this suggests, is designed primarily for doctors, not patients, and I think that we need to think about what we need to do to make sure that schools are designed for learner agency rather than the adults in the building. So I'm going to spend the rest of my time tonight talking about some of our key learnings in redesigning school for student agency. This is a picture of our Lodestar design team last year in a back hallway asking, what would school look like if it were built around agency and belonging rather than more traditional outcomes? So this year we opened a school. We have about 235 students in East Oakland in K1, 2, and 6. Thank you. 70% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. About 60% of our students are Latino, 25% are African American, and many will be the first in their families to go to college, and all of them are experiencing a different type of school. Like Dayanara, who's exploring compost as part of an expedition on trash. We've also really been pushing the boundary on what it looks like to make school fit students' interests. This is Ray. He's really interested in the Titanic, reading about it, building it, writing about it, talking about it, watching History Channel. And this has been a part of his school experience, and this wouldn't have been in many places. This space is called the lab, and students spend about 2 hours of their day in it right now. It's a giant space with 90 kids, 7 teachers, and some of this time is self-directed, where students do what they want to do to advance their learning, and some of this time is spent in flexible ability groups. So what are some of our big learnings in redesign? I guess our first big area of learning that I want to talk about tonight is around how to run and design a data system to regroup students based on what they need. So at our school, when students are ready to move on, they take a benchmark and they move on to the next reading or math level without needing to wait for other students. And this gets to that first design point I talked about earlier. And I think one of our key learnings here has been to keep our data in-house. There's a lot of pressure to outsource your data, and we control it. A second big area of learning is around iteration. We call this slide the evolution of a name tag. At the beginning of the year, kids only really needed to know their crew, and now they need to know when and how long they're going to be in their groups and when they have self-directed time. And I think our big learning here is that kids, we can't plan for perfect, but we can rapidly iterate to make things better. Students actually own their name tags to the extent that they can create their own schedules when they get lost. Our last big area of learning is around what happens when we turn control over to learners. This is Keanu. He's 6, and he's filling in a work plan describing the work that he's doing in lab today. And we've learned that very young children can do this and can actually make decisions about what to do without needing help from an adult. This kindergartner has filled out her work plan in service of pursuing a particular goal in reading, and she's done some personalized sight word work in service of this without actually needing an adult to help with that. So we have a couple of questions where we're interested in learning more. One is around how we suspect that bringing our data out of spreadsheets and putting it into kids' hands can help them make really good decisions about what to do, to choose experiences that match their goals. We're also really curious about what we can do to give students a better sense of what's coming around the corner. So how can students understand not just what they're working on now, but what the next learning targets are going to be and what they're going to have to do to get there? So overall, we're really excited about what comes next and what we're going to continue to learn. We're going to continue to grow and iterate, and tonight we invite you to join us in thinking about building some proof points around what works to build school around student agency. So thank you.